How you doing?
Hello there. How's it doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for willing to do this, JP.
Yeah, no problem.
You know, I wanted to be honest with you. I've been knowing all about you ever since the Netflix show called Boss Baby back in business. And since that, I've been getting to know all about your voices. Not only do you appear in that, but you got to appear in a lot of things, including big anime that I've been knowing of for years. And honestly, you are more of an anime voice actor rather than animation. And just trying to be honest with you about that. That's all.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I've done a bit. I've done a bit of anime, and it's been a lot of fun, and some great titles too. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Because all I know is that I actually did some videos on my YouTube channel, which I included you in there,
Hmm.
including the characters and voice actors of Neon Genesis Evangelion and Star Wars Visions. I did that so that I can make everyone know which characters are you, so that they can finally be like, that's him. Oh, I see that. Because it happens a
Yeah,
lot through my YouTube channel for the past few years.
yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
It's what I
Um.
do.
Hmm.
But anyway, I have many questions I've been wanting to ask you.
Great.
Tell me, how is it like being a voice actor in many animated shows?
Um. I mean, I've been really lucky to have a solid career for a while. Uh. I love the diversity of it. I love being able to play a lot of different things. Um, I started out as an on-camera actor, and I found that a lot more limiting than animation. I mean, in animation, like I'm everything from a baby in a suit to a flying troll in a powdered wig to a goblin on a jet. Like, it's all sorts of things. So yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
I see. Well, that's very good to hear from you. Which leads me to the most important question.
Mm.
How did you get into voice acting?
Sure. I actually, well, um, there's a lot of people that knew that they wanted to be a voice actor at the very beginning, and I fall into that camp kind of. But I think I just had a sort of backwards idea of how I was going to do it. So um, when I was uh, I don't know, 10, 11, somewhere like that. I was right around the age when I started to think about the idea of like, oh, okay, one day I will need to get a job. I will need to have to do something for work. And this was right around the time that Aladdin came out. So I saw Robin Williams playing the genie. And in my middle school brain, I was thinking like, okay, so Robin Williams is famous, and he's doing voices, which means that if they're going to let me do voices, then I have to be a famous actor as well. So I kind of just I started pursuing like theater and on-camera acting. I mean, that's what I went to college for and everything, thinking that there was no way to break into voiceover until I actually had conquered everything else in acting. And of course, once I got to Los Angeles, I realized like, oh, no, 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 no. There's plenty of people who do voiceover that have not ever been on camera. Um, so I had a professor, Kelly Ward, who directed a lot of animation, and through his initial sort of guidance, he pointed me in the direction of several teachers, including Bob Bergen, aka Porky Pig, and yeah, and that's sort of got me off to the races. And then I got an agent, and for the past 17 years, I've just been plugging away at it. And it started off pretty slow. Like I think my first year with an agent, I booked maybe one thing, and the second year maybe two things. And then over time, it just got more and more and more until all of a sudden I had a career and I didn't need a day job, and this was the only thing I did.
Wow. So
Mhm.
this is how you got into voice acting because of what you've been seeing over the past few years. And honestly, what you were saying earlier about you watching Aladdin back then and hearing voices from Robin Williams,
Mhm.
that's something the experience I've had when I was only 6 years old. Because to
Mhm.
tell the truth, I had a dream about seeing myself on TV with the characters, you know. But by the time I discovered movies, voice actors, that's where I came to realize that the only way for me to be part of a television show is to become the very thing I was meant to be, a voice actor. But anyway, this is the questions about your characters, but
Sure.
what was your first ever character that you played as in animation way before you got into many others?
Okay. I hope this is correct according to my resume. But the first thing I remember was I did this direct to Blu-ray movie. It was an anime style movie, but I don't think it was true anime. Like it wasn't a picture. But the whole thing was done by Anime Studios. It was called Dante's Inferno, an animated epic. Um, Meant to be not a prequel. I think it was meant to be like sort of a retelling of a video game by EA that was coming out at the exact same time. And so it was all about Dante going through the nine circles of hell and like, meeting all these people. And the cool thing about it was is that every circle of hell was animated by a different anime studio. So every time he went down a different level, the look of the whole thing just changed. And I just did like a couple bit parts in that. Um, but what I remember most about it was it was a group record. It was a bunch of people doing all of the little voices together in one room. And the person I remember the most was I was sitting next to Grey Griffin, Grey Delisle, and never met her before, and she was just the sweetest, absolutely the nicest person. And also just getting to watch her work and the other actors in the room work. And the director was Charlie Adler of Tiny Toons and many other famous voices, Common Chicken and all that. And talk about the most wonderful frenetic director to start with. It was just such a fun experience, and um, yeah, just one of those little moments that really affirmed like I'm in the right place. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to keep doing this.
See, so this was your first ever animation that you gotten into. Just in case if I ever make a voice showcase for my YouTube channel, I just have to make sure I do it in chronological order. But thanks for you telling me, I finally understand what I have to do in order to make things look improved for my
Yeah,
video's sake.
yeah. I'm almost 100% sure that's the one that it is because it's either that or the other thing that I did around that time was this thing called Marvel mashups, which was they were these little interstitials that used to be on the Disney Channel in between shows. I think it was like their Disney XD afternoon or something like that. And it was basically sort of like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, where they would take Marvel animated shows from the 60s through the 80s and cut them up and redub them. And I just remember, I did a whole bunch of them. I played like the Vision and Jarvis and Black Cat. I played Black Cat, which is weird. I played Scarlet Witch, which was even weirder. I played Hawkeye. Like it was a bunch of. I played the Wizard, which was so random. Um, but I remember walking in the first day, and they let me sit in on the end of the previous session, and it was Tom Kenny, and just watching him work was so very very cool. And as one of my very first jobs, it was one of these two. Um, what I loved about it is, and this is not calling Tom out, but like he made a lot of mistakes. like he would say something, he would flub a line, and before anybody could even say like, "Oh, Tom, could we take that back?" He'd be like, "You know what? Let me give you one more on that," and then he would just do another one. And it kind of put me at ease because I was so nervous that I was like, "Oh, I'm going to make a mistake." And just watching him, it was like, "Oh, you can make many mistakes, and it's fine," because eventually he would get something better and better and better every time, and like, what they would end up using as the finished product was gold. So yeah, it was one of those two. Not sure.
It's okay. That happens with everybody, you know? Because don't
Hmm.
worry, I think Dante Inferno is the first before you've gotten to the other ones. But anyway, in the game Crash Bandicoot, what was your
Hmm.
favorite part about playing Dr. Nefarious Tropy?
Oh, favorite part.
Well, just
I, I
what
was
was
I was actually kind of nervous doing it just because Corey Burton played the part in the previous Crash Bandicoots before me, and Corey does a great job. So there was a lot of pressure of what to live up to. But I mean, just like you said with Gray, who doesn't love playing a villain? Like they're so super fun, and it's and he's such a delicious villain. He's just so nasty. And the writing on Crash Bandicoot is just really fun and silly. So yeah, it was a party. I will say though, I recorded the whole role in one session, so it was it was like 2 hours of fun. But I hope I get to play him again. That was a good time.
well, that's quite impressive of you to say that, you know, because I've known about Bandicoot for the last few years, you know. I even
Mhm.
met Dr. Neil Cortex himself, Lex Lang, and his wife, Sandy Foss.
Yeah. Oh, Lex is great. Lex and Sandy are awesome. That's the one downside of this work, especially in video games, is I love the way that the scene plays between us, like between Entropy and Dr. Neocortex. But I never heard him do it. Like, we didn't get to do it in the same room. We did it at totally different times. Uh, yeah, that would have been fun. Would have been fun to play off of him.
Yeah, I see your point there.
Hmm.
But anyway,
Hmm.
how does it feel about playing Wile E. Coyote in Wabbit?
I mean, that was definitely the biggest role that I had ever gotten at that time. Um, it was it was a bit of it was sort of like a long shot because they were auditioning a whole bunch of the Looney Tunes for that show. And unlike Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Yosemite Sam, most people didn't have a clear idea of what Wiley was supposed to sound like. Most people remember him just holding a sign and not saying anything. So I had a little bit of freedom as to what I wanted to do with it, and I knew that Charlie Adler again was casting and directing it, and I just had this inkling in my head of like, what would Charlie like? And that's never the right. I caution people against going that route. Like you shouldn't think of like, what does casting want? Do what you want. But like I respect Charlie so much and I love his work, and it was less about like, oh God, what do I have to do to make casting like me? It was more about like, I want to have a laugh with Charlie. What would I like? What could I do that we could both laugh about? And because there's certain elements of our senses of humor that are are similar. And yeah, I just did this version of the character that's sort of like Mel Blanc, but a lot of people rightfully said that it's sort of like Sideshow Bob, which I'll take. And yeah, I never expected to book it, and then I did, and we recorded a couple episodes, and then it just vanished for a while, and I was like, oh, okay, did it get canceled? I think almost over a year went by before they did some retooling and got a different showrunner, blah blah, kind of retool, futzed with it a little bit, and then brought it back. But I thought, oh, I only got to voice him like twice, which okay, that's fine. Um, but yeah, uh, what was so cool is that the new showrunner was actually my old. I took a sketch comedy at Second City, and it was just and my old coach was the showrunner of Wabbit, so it was really cool to work with him again and Matt Craig. And yeah, I loved playing Wiley. Yeah, I would love to do it again.
See, so
Hmm.
that's how you like about playing that character. Because
Hmm.
when I heard your voice as Wile E. Coyote, you know, you know what your voice sounded exactly like?
Who?
You sounded exactly like the one I met a few months ago in July. The one called James Arnold Tyler, you know? Because he once did
Oh,
Wile E. Coyote once in a video game, you know?
he
And
did.
by
Yeah.
and by the time I heard you and him voices of Wile E. Coyote, I was like, huh, hey, look, they sounded very familiar, you know?
Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
wonder why they all sounded alike, you know, due to the fact that of them practicing voice acting, you know? Could say
Hmm.
it's a simple thing when it comes to, you know, doing some doing making sounding like an actor, you know? So yeah, that's basically it, you know. But
Hmm.
anyway, how's it like playing Kosu Fususaki in Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Uh, Super fun, super hard. Um, and I say that I find anime to be challenging, and mostly because when you record regular prelay animation, none of the animation's done. You have to worry about the timing or anything until you do, like until maybe the end when you're doing a bit of ADR, but that's only a little bit. Um, when I did uh, Evangelion, it was early in my like I hadn't. I think it was actually my first real anime credit. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
and Yeah, so I was a little bit nervous about. Also, it's a massively famous title, so I was also like, oh gosh, one of those pressure thing. There are you probably noticed this, but there are very few roles that I've had that somebody hasn't had before me, and that can be very nerve-wracking. Um, yeah, it was a challenge for sure, but the session director, Carrie Karanen, who's an old friend that I've known for a long time, was just super supportive and just really took it, and we just kind of took one thing at a time, and it went really well, and I had a lot of fun doing it. It's a gorgeous piece. Like it's a massive epic and just really stunning. And Fuyutsuki is just yeah, he's such a complex character because, it's sort of like, oh, he's just like the lackey of the bad guy, but the bad guys aren't it's hard to say that they're bad guys. They're just really misguided people. I don't know. I love how complex it is. Yeah, it was a super fun project.
I see. So that's how you like about playing that show, you know? Because it's
Hmm.
like I told you before that I made a video about that characters and voice actors of the show, which I included you in there. But there is something and it's that you did very well playing that character, you know?
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
But
thank you.
anyway, what's the most awesome thing when playing the Boss Baby in Boss Baby Back in Business?
The writing, it's so well written. And they're giant, giant chunks of dialogue. And I think, I mean, I've had to do, while doing Boss Baby, I've had to do a German accent. I had to speak in Japanese. I have to talk about my Italian leather shoes. Like, it's just such a dense, rich, and there's so many business jokes that no child ever would get. Like, um, it's wacky. It is such a wacky, wonderfully written show. Um, and it was just a blast to say all of it. Like, there's um just paragraphs of fantastic dialogue. So yeah, that for me was the best part was just getting to read that stuff. Uh, and also the cast. It was one of the few shows that I got to record with the group. Um, Pierce Gagnon, who's the kid who played my older brother, was awesome to be siblings with. David Collins and Hope Levy were my parents. Kevin Michael Richardson and Alex Cazares were my partners in crime. Like it was such a good cast. They were wonderful people. Yeah, they are wonderful people. When I worked with them. Yeah.
Quite impressive, how you got
Hmm.
to be in the show with everybody else, because all I know is that you were in the other Boss Baby one with Max Middleman, which honestly has been like the coolest thing that you've done, especially when you got to interact with him, And I have to admit, it is quite very good of you to be that character, especially
Hmm.
when you got to sound like Alec Baldwin, And it's the truth,
Hmm.
because you
Thank
really
you.
are very good at sounding exactly like him.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, my big regret on that one is like because the first Boss Baby back in business, we did record in a group, but Boss Baby back in the crib, we recorded almost entirely during COVID. So I never got to work with Max, who I love, or Mary Faber, who plays Tina, um, who's a good friend. And it was like her first big animation role, and I was so excited to share that with her. But oh well. Um, yeah, we at least got to
Eh,
do the show, even if we didn't do the show together. Yeah.
it's all right. It happens with everybody.
Hmm.
It so happens so often. But anyway, what's the most awesome thing when playing Gawain in Fate Grand Order?
Uh, that one was hard too because it was again anime, fitting in lines and lips. But yeah. But he was fun because he's just so intense. Like he's just so serious and just um, that like the flaming sword and everything. It was giving me like Dragon Ball vibes, which I was just all about. So that was fun. And then a much goofier version of him in Fate Grand Order, the Carnival one,
I know
not
what you're
the
talking about.
the second one. Yeah. Yeah, so it was fun to play different facets of that character.
Quite impressive, for you to be that character. Because all I know is that I've known about that show Fate for years, and
Mm-hmm.
and to tell you this, you are very good playing that character, But anyway, what's the biggest thing when playing the Green Goblin in Spidey and his amazing friends?
Oh, he's just silly. I just love how silly he is. It's um it's fun to play a villain who's not really evil. He's not really bad. He's just mischievous and naughty. He's just so naughty, and and everybody's trying to spoil his fun. Yeah, no, it's just a super good. It's just a fun little character, and what's I think the best part of it has been running into friends who have kids, or just walking into somebody's house, and their kid is on the couch watching the show. um, just having those experiences of like, oh wow, the people are watching this. I loved when um, they did the Disney Junior live tour that went around the country, and even though I didn't, I wasn't on the tour, my voice was doing Green Goblin on the tour, and just seeing the videos of like people in the audience screaming and like, boo, Green Goblin. It's just neat. It's just cool.
I see. Well, that's very good to hear from you because all I know is that you did very well playing that character, since there are
Thanks.
like many actors who does Green Goblin, and you, my friend, you're just too special to have a very unique voice of that character, Cause hey, it's all in the fact, that's all.
Hmm.
But anyway, last question. What was your favorite part about being the voice of Ryu Mabachi in Karako's basketball?
Um, I loved playing. I loved playing that character because he was the first openly queer character that I played. That was cool. Um, well, I don't think we ever said it, but that was what I like when I walked in. They were like, "Yeah, he's gay," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." Um, so it was really neat to be able. Oh, wait, no, sorry, wrong. No, first one would have been the Killing Joke. That was the first one. Anyway, but I really liked playing. I really liked playing him, Mibuki, because he's also kind of a villain. Like he's sort of a bad guy. And it's nice to I like the idea of being able to play a variety of different gay characters or queer characters. Like they don't all have to be like really sweet and nice. Like some of them can be like total a-holes, and he absolutely was. Um, Also, I just loved watching because I have never seen anybody take basketball that seriously. It is so intense. It's so, it's so dramatic. But yeah, it's a fun show.
I see. Well, that's a very good thing here from you, because all I know is that I've seen that show, and to be honest with you, it was like a very cool thing for you to do. Well, that could be quite interesting, because that sounded more like Steve Bloom,
Mm.
whenever he does characters that sounded like that, like in Osiris Wrath or even Gurren Lagann, because hey, it's the truth there, that's all.
Mhm.
But
Funny.
anyway,
Yeah.
well, my friend, it is such an honor to finally meet you, John.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Sebastian. I appreciate it.
Well, it's what I do,
Hmm.
I'm glad I told you everything, and hopefully we get to see each other on social media, my friend. And I hope you do something awesome.
Thanks. See you soon.
See you soon, my friend. Bye.
Bye.